the first iteration of this, the one I came into, that event had occurred, but it occurred off camera.
There's risks. You have to take risks and see what works and what succeeds.
He really broke our hearts.
I just try to listen to the fans, listen to the culture.
Tony Dalton, who's the plays the swordsman, is also in the show, so we have little spots.
Cause you know they're breathing the same air you're breathing.
I'm gonna jump right in with the big one. This is gonna go live after episodes 1 and 2, so please do speak freely. But why did we have to say goodbye to Foggy?
It was not, there's a long answer to this question. And the first thing is it wasn't taken lightly. The second thing, which a lot of people don't know, is that the first iteration of this, the one I came into, that event had occurred, but it occurred off camera. And for me, when I came in to talk to these guys, I was like, this is so earth-shattering. It changes everything. We have to see it and we have to feel it. So that's why we built that whole sequence around it. Charlie's the one who came in and said, you should put it to the heartbeat. So we really wanted, if Matt's world was going to get shattered to the point where he's going to put down the mask, we wanted to lean in 100%, because if Foggy is his Jiminy Cricket, if he is his conscience, it's not just the loss of a family member, it's the loss of a part of himself that was holding him in check, that was maybe making him stop from crossing a line. And that has a ripple effect through this entire season, into the next season, and probably into the life of this character. Foggy will live within him, and that loss and its process of grief and rebuilding is a huge portion of our storytelling. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I mean, I know it hurt.
Yeah, I mean, so we talked to him about it, and you know, there's something very personal about the scene that he shared with us that helped us all kind of like connect to how we would play this, and that's for him to tell. But it kind of it brought us all together about it, and you know, I mean, he looking into his eyes and realizing that we're coming in as, you know, to direct his death scene. We've never worked together before, well, except for, you know, the scenes prior. And he has been playing this character for, you know, almost a decade, or, you know, there was a brief interlude. But we really felt like we were, I've been using the word interlopers. It felt like we were coming in like with a bit of a wrecking ball spirit, and we didn't feel that way. But we could see a world where it's like, this is the end of a whole universe, and we just need to make sure that we absolutely get it right and treat it with the pathos that we feel about it as fans of Foggy and as fans of the original show. And it was really beautiful. When we ended up where we ended up with it, and he really broke our hearts.
It's going to hit hard, I think, but obviously as it should. As you say, these actors have been playing these characters for a very long time. As directors, I'm sure you gave them notes, but I wondered, did they have any kind of notes or requests for you guys with what they wanted to happen or what they wanted to really put across?
This show is a show that's more so than other shows in its subgenre. It's defined by these really human, nuanced performances across the board. And we're coming in to collaborate with them after they've been with these characters for over 10 years. And they guided us so much every single day, every character, every beat, and with so much humility. Like, we didn't feel like we were we didn't feel like we were like, you know, the substitute teacher, the uncool substitute teacher coming in or something. And that was like, it's such a gift to have all of these actors be encyclopedias of their characters and specialists on their characters, and to be so willing to share with us what those characters are about at their core. Or sometimes it would just be a simple question. Mm-hmm. Hey, why'd your hand do that?
Yeah.
Here's why my hand does this.
Yeah. I remember in the scene where Foggy died, I remember where one of the bigger conversations was, the moment that the blood hits her face, how long between that and her reacting, because she also, she carries a gun in her purse. She understands how to defend herself, all of that. Like, how long do we get, between Foggy hitting the ground and her reacting to someone coming at her, where it's like, what is it where it's like shock and grief to I have to take action? And that was definitely one of our big conversations, just making sure that felt authentic to her character and for the audience to process what's happening and all of that. Slow motion helped us out quite a bit there, so we could take a little cheat and take a little more time to be like, wait, Foggy's dying? What?
It's so exciting to see Daredevil back on TV. Why was now the right time for Marvel to bring him back?
I don't know if it's the right time. It's just the time that it's the soonest time we were able to do it, I think. We all have been excited about these characters. We love these characters. We love the portrayal of Matt Murdock by Charlie Cox and of Kingpin by Vincent D'Onofrio. And certainly I was one of those fans behind the scenes rooting for its revival. The fact that I get to work with these actors and these storytellers on a show that I was a fan of when the original series came out is just really a dream come true.
Yeah, I know you're as much a fan as the rest of us. You've been talking a little bit. I know other people have asked you about the potential of other Defenders coming back, particularly Jessica Jones. How likely is that looking, do you think? Have there been any chats with Kristen that you could reveal?
I think we're trying to create a very grounded version of New York. What Dario's done is he's built New York out as kind of like a medieval kingdom or something with a lot of different power structures, pulling the levers of power. And this world is something that has many stories to explore in it. You're right to say that these characters exist. They're walking around. They're living and breathing in the same world. So I think collisions are always possible, but it will always be driven by the story and by the characters. We won't do it arbitrarily. If they do collide, it will be because the story demands it.
One for both of you. I know you're very conscious of the heart of this show remaining. It's such a big thing for Daredevil. Where do you think that heart now comes from with the loss of Foggy? Is it from that loss?
That's a good question. I think it is from that loss. I think he's searching. I think he's searching for that. I think what happens after that first episode is a time for Matt Murdock to figure out not only who he is, but where he can rest his head. Is there hope for Matt Murdock? Will there ever be hope for Matt Murdock? Or is he just playing pretend? I think that scene with Heather is so great, with Heather Glenn, because it is a possibility for Matt Murdock that we all hope for. We hope that he can find love and settle down and live in like a calm life. Of course, the question is,
can he?
Can he? So, the concept of hope for Matt is one that I think is really important, and that is what hopefully we'll find.
And I firmly believe, and I've said this, that there is a character that embodies the heart of this show, and that character has not left us.
No.
What can you say of, we're so happy to see Karen back as well. What can you say of her involvement past episodes 1 and 2? Obviously, she's going to be so destroyed by this loss.
So I was fortunate enough to work with Deborah Ann Woll in The Punisher. And I knew when I met with you guys the first time that Karen Page, as a character, as an entity, as part of this world, is super important. So I'm very excited for the fans and everybody to see how that evolves and what's to come. I could, without giving too much away, I could say if that relationship and if that character matters to you, you will be very satisfied.
This is coming at a time when sort of some fans have been a little bit critical of Marvel's kind of recent output. I wondered, is there kind of any response you might have to the fans that say that Marvel's golden age is a little bit behind us, or any reassurances you can give about kind of the future of Marvel's TV output? Big question, I know.
All I can say is that Marvel has been around for, over 85 years. When we started the film studio back in 2006 or 7, when we were first making Iron Man 1, it was an experimental time. And there was some trial and error in the early days as well. Pioneering the shared universe for the general audience was a huge undertaking, and a really exciting one to be a part of. I think the advent of streaming as an opportunity to tell more stories was, a very new endeavor for us, and for the entire industry. I think if you look around at every studio in Hollywood and how they've created content for streaming platforms, you see a lot of experimentation. And in that era, there's trial and error a little bit. There's risks. You have to take risks and see what works and what succeeds. I'll say we learned a lot, and my hope is that we can create television for television that's perhaps a little bit more traditional than we thought at first, where shows can come out for a longer period of time, season over season, maybe with an annual release schedule, something that feels like more comfortable, where you're living with characters for a long period of time, and more like a television show that makes it different than big event movies you can only see on a giant screen, that are worthy of a cinematic experience like that.
Yeah, that's exciting to hear. You might have just answered my next question here, but I did want to ask about how you would describe Marvel's kind of future approach to TV. As you say, I'm sure you've learned a lot, and I feel like it's something to get really excited, especially sort of with Daredevil Born Again now kind of under your belt.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, we're developing more than we make. We're writing more than we'll produce. It's nothing new. It's a very traditional way to make television, and studios have been doing that, for many decades. With Marvel, there's a little bit more of a spotlight on us because people are paying attention to what we have in development. But the goal is to only proceed with things that we think can last for multiple seasons, a story that can sustain.
And as a Marvel fan yourself, how would you describe those kind of unannounced projects that you've got in development in kind of just a few words? What would you say of them?
I think there's incredible stuff. I mean, the Marvel universe is vast. I wish that there was like the ability to make every single show I ever wanted to make in my career. It's not realistic. I'm at the end of the day, I'm subject to the same forces of supply and demand as everybody else. So I just try to listen to the fans, listen to the culture, and listen to Disney and deliver what I think will be good stories.
Sana, what can we expect from any other familiar Marvel faces? I know it feels very like a very built out version of New York, this one.
Yeah, I mean, well, right now it's already out there. Yusuf Khan from Miss Marvel's in the show, which is very exciting, and Tony Dalton, who's plays the swordsman, is also in the show. So we have little spots, little bits and bobs of cameos. I mean, we're very focused, and of course, who knows what happens in the future, but we're really focused on telling Daredevil and Kingpin, and there's so many characters. We just don't have room for anything else at the moment because we've got so much drama.
And I as we work in that little corner of the MCU that is the Hell's Kitchen street level characters, that's a world unto itself. And I think there's a few familiar faces that we definitely want to bring back, and we're gonna see how that plays out.
How will fans feel at the end of this season?
Oh, well, that's the thing that's so tricky. Is like, when you get a chance, hopefully you'll see the entire season, and the first couple episodes really do set the table in a great way, but the last two take you to a place that sets up season 2. Season 1 is part 1. Season 2 is without a doubt part 2. And I think that I get goosebumps at the end of season 1 every time. We tell the audience that something is coming in a way that is pretty exciting, and it's hard to explain. You know what's going to come, and you're like, how? What's that going to look like?
I think they're going to say, give me season 2 now.
Which we're trying to do. We start shooting on Friday.